So after recording over 550 miles on my All Trails app in 2025, and a lot of those miles being trail walks with the Hoka Challenger 7, I needed an upgrade, so I recently purchased the Hoka Challenger 8. I'm going to talk about basically my opinion between the two shoes and which one I like better. And I'll tell you guys right from the beginning, if you've seen my videos before, you know that I complain a lot about when brands change something that actually works. But in this particular instance, I do actually prefer the 8s to the 7s, which is surprising for me. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of the differences, why I prefer that, and basically just my overall opinion on the 8s, which is basically that I really like them and I'm happy with my purchase. So a couple of the biggest things that have changed between the 7s, which is like this pink color here, and the 8s, is the shape of the lugs. And I really want to zoom in on that. As you can tell, the lugs are in a different direction. They're kind of like triangular, almost like a chevron shape. The 7s, I said I walked many miles on these, so you can tell that they're really worn out. So they're not, like that's how they looked before. The ones in the middle are a lot more worn out. But still, the lugs with the 8s face a different direction. And they, in my opinion, do provide more traction. I just walked about 6 miles with these last weekend, and I was on a trail that was like mostly flat, but at one point I did have to walk up a hill to like get to a creek and see other sites within the state park I was walking. And when I was walking up the hill, it was like wet because it had rained and it was grassy. Like I was walking on wet grass. I did get pretty good traction with these, but again, these are trail runners. They're not like hiking boots. They don't have like ankle support or anything like that. So, you know, I do recommend if you're going on like a strenuous hike where you're going to be climbing rocks or climbing wet terrain like that the entire time, then obviously you probably want something, you know, that's more like a boot. But like I said, the majority of this walk was on just like a flat gravel trail. The fit is also a little bit different. I do find kind of like more support here in the midfoot. I don't know if this like really picks it up too well, but it's flatter. The old version of the Challengers was a little bit flatter there. I do feel like this one, the 8s, have a little bit more arch support, which to me is just more comfortable underfoot. So in addition to the increased traction abilities of the different lugs that they have on the 8s, I just feel like the 8s are honestly more comfortable overall. Something I talk a lot about in my videos is like being able to spread your toes out when you're walking or hiking. I never wear certain brands of fashion shoes like Nikes or anything like that, because I don't want my toes to be, you know, crushed in there. I wouldn't say that Hoka is, you know, necessarily has like the widest toe box. Obviously it's a cushiony shoe. It's not like a barefoot shoe or something that you can spread your toes out all the way. But I do find that my toes at least don't feel crushed in the new Hoka Challenger 8s. Not that they really did with the 7s, but on some of my longer walks with the 7s, I did kind of feel like my pinky toe was kind of like hitting into the side a little bit. Maybe just because they got worn out at the end, but even so, I just feel like I do have like a little bit more room, like where the toe box is with the Challenger 7s, while also hugging the middle of my foot a little bit tighter. I do have like a narrow foot, so that midfoot support is important to me. Another feature that changed, which really isn't going to affect walking, is, you know, just kind of, or running or whatever you're doing with these, hiking, trail running, but it just kind of affects, I guess, how you put on the shoe, is that the 7s did not have this little, you know, loop here, maybe to pull on your shoe faster or whatever you're going to do with it. And as you can see, the 8s do have that. Overall, the 8s are a really comfortable shoe. We can take the insert out like I like to do in my videos, just to show you guys like every part of it. So the insert is cushiony enough, but once again, as I mentioned in a lot of my videos, this is the standard Hoka insert, so it's, you know, it's decent quality. But if you want something that, you know, has like really increased arch support, probably want to buy like Superfeet inserts or another brand of your choosing. If you have foot problems, most likely you will have to see like a podiatrist and get custom inserts and those sorts of things. But if you just use the insert it comes with, this is what it looks like. It is soft, but it is, you know, thin, because obviously they're not going to sell you the shoe with your own custom inserts, or else it would be, you would have to go to 2 different places to have that, basically. Because obviously a brand like Hoka is more generic, like anybody can buy these on the website, and it's not custom to your specific needs of your foot. So if you want more arch support and stuff like that, then what this provides, obviously you would have to change out the insert. But speaking of how the shoes fit, with the Hoka Challenger 8s as well as the 7s and every other Hoka shoe that I've worn and reviewed on this channel, it fits true to size. So I wear women's 7.5 medium in US sizes, and that is what this is, a woman's 7.5. So whatever your normal size is, I just recommend going with that size. Some hiking shoe brands, you might have to size up or down or whatever, but with the Hokas, in my opinion, the perfect fit can just be found with your regular size. So yeah, overall, the 8s were an upgrade, in my opinion, from the 7s. I feel a little bit more arch support, like this part of my foot is like being like hugged a little bit more, so you know, there's not as much slippage. And speaking of slippage, the lugs are a little bit deeper, maybe, unless the other ones are just really worn out, but at any rate, they've kind of like changed the direction of the lugs, changed the pattern of them, so they do have a little bit more traction. It's got this thing on the back, if you're into that, I don't know, pulling your shoes on. You probably shouldn't do that, because when you're out trail running especially, or hiking, you know, you want your shoes to be on yourself securely, so you should untie them and tie them every time, which as you can see I did not do, because I took these off without untying them. But if you know, you should make sure it's tied nice and tight so your foot's not wobbling around in there. But overall, this is another cushy and comfortable shoe from Hoka that I hope and I anticipate will carry me many miles on the trails. I'm hoping to get to over 550 miles again this year in 2026, so I do put a lot of miles on all of my shoes collectively. No, this is not the only pair of shoes that I go for walks in. I have other pairs of Hoka and Salomon shoes as well. So I won't be putting the whole 500 on these, but I'll probably put at least 250, maybe, something like that. I do go for a lot of long walks, and I think Hoka is definitely good for your posture, you know, good for the health of your feet and that sort of thing, versus some sort of narrow shoe, or of course something that is not equipped for the trails like Hoka often is. So that's about all I have to say for this shoe. Like I said, the toe box, it's wide enough, I guess. Like maybe I would prefer it to be slightly wider. I don't think my toes can like splay out all the way, but they're not crushed in there either, like some type of a fashion shoe that is actually unhealthy for your feet. And a lot of people, especially women, wear those type of shoes, and you really shouldn't if you do care about the foot health and athletic ability in the future. Personally, I have this weird goal that I want to like never be too old to hike. So basically for the rest of my life, I want to be climbing mountains, and for that reason, I want to take care of myself and take care of my feet and buy the proper footwear. And so far, Hoka has done well in terms of not getting any like foot injuries or anything, since, you know, walking many miles in these. So that's about it. If you have any questions about the shoe, ask below. And just another good shoe from Hoka. I believe this time it was an upgrade from the 7s.